They say men do not understand women. But what if the real problem is that men don't understand themselves? If you study Plato with ruthless honesty, you'll see this truth bleeding through every layer of his philosophy. You see, Plato didn't write dating advice. He didn't teach men how to win women. He taught men how to master their minds, to confront their own ignorance, and rise above illusion. Because long before men chased beauty, long before they bowed to the whispers of the feminine, Plato had already diagnosed the deeper disease, the blindness of man to the forces that govern his own soul. Before men ever stumbled after fleeting pleasures, Plato described the human condition as a prison, a cave where shadows dance on the walls, and the untrained man believes those shadows are real. But what if I told you that one of the most powerful shadows cast on the mind of man is woman herself? Not woman in her purest nature, but woman as an idea, an illusion, a projection that keeps men distracted, compliant, and emotionally enslaved. Plato warned that the masses would defend their illusions with their lives, and no illusion is more intoxicating than the idea that women are innocent, pure, and incapable of manipulation. This is the grand theater where men lose themselves. She smiles, and you call it love. She cries, and you call it sincerity. She touches your hand, and you call it destiny. But Plato would laugh. To him, this is the behavior of a prisoner, one who refuses to turn his head towards the light of truth. He lives in shadows and calls them reality. Shadows he worships, illusions he sacrifices himself for. Plato argued that true knowledge begins with the admission that you know nothing. The beginning of wisdom is the definition of terms, he wrote. But how many men define woman based on what she shows rather than what she is? How many men investigate the nature of feminine influence as rigorously as they study business, politics, or war? The answer? Almost none. And that is why women dominate the emotional landscape of men without lifting a finger. Not because they are stronger, not because they are more strategic, but because man is blind to his own ignorance. He is ruled by appetite, by desire, by the wild horse that Plato spoke of in Phaedrus, the untamed spirit that pulls him towards beauty, pleasure, and temptation. Most men let this wild horse run free. She enters the scene, and suddenly his purpose is forgotten, his principles abandoned. He calls this madness falling in love. But to Plato, it's spiritual slavery. Plato called it a divine madness. Yes, divine, but madness all the same. And unless you master it, you are nothing but a pawn, a slave to fleeting pleasures, a worshiper of shadows. And here's the twist. Women know this. Whether consciously or instinctively, they understand that men are ruled by this madness. She doesn't need to plot or conspire. She simply exists as a mirror to your ignorance, reflecting back the weakness you refuse to confront in yourself. Plato said it best. The worst of all deceptions is self-deception. Men deceive themselves into believing they are rational in love, but they are not. They are prisoners, and the chains are not on their wrists. They are wrapped around their minds. And here lies Plato's brutal truth. Woman does not manipulate you. Your illusions about her do. It is the idea of woman, the false goddess you've built in your mind, that keeps you enslaved. She smiles, you collapse. She withdraws, you chase. You call it devotion. Plato would call it madness. You think she is the one playing the game, but the game began long before she entered your life. The real game is the war within you, the battle between your higher self and your base desires. And every time you choose pleasure over principle, fantasy over reality, she doesn't need to defeat you. You defeat yourself. Plato wrote that the just man does not permit the lustful part of his soul to dominate him. Yet here you are, negotiating with your own emotions, hoping she will choose you, validate you, complete you. This is the mark of a man who has left one cave only to build another, this time with golden bars and velvet chains. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you truly questioned why you chase women? When was the last time you asked if she was leading you to truth or dragging you deeper into illusion? Most men never ask, because asking requires courage. It demands you admit you've been fooled, that the stories you tell yourself about love, devotion, and destiny are nothing but smoke and mirrors. And until you face that reality, until you stand like the philosopher and look directly into the light of truth, you will remain a slave, not to women, but to the idea of women that you refuse to question. Plato understood that society is built on narratives, myths designed to keep people obedient, and nowhere is this more evident than in the narrative men are fed about women. You've been told they are your better half. You've been told they complete you. But Plato knew better. In the Republic, he makes it clear, the masses must be ruled by those who have seen the truth. And the tragedy is, most men never become rulers of their own minds. If you can look into her eyes and see not a goddess, not an enemy, but a mirror. If you can take back your power, not with hate, not with bitterness, but with clarity, you become what Plato called the just man, the ruler of himself. And the man who rules himself cannot be manipulated. He cannot be destroyed. He cannot be played. So stop chasing the shadow. Stop worshiping the illusion. Stand up. Look in the mirror. Face the parts of yourself you've been too afraid to confront. And when you do, you will never again fear the games women play, because you will have outgrown the need to play at all. And when you've broken free from that illusion, you will not just see her, you will see yourself truly for the first time.